Well, reports reaching us says that an INEC official was beaten for having pre-filled election result sheets. And joining me to talk about this is the Executive Director, Lead Network Africa, Chukwuma Okenwa, and also our correspondent is standing by, and that's Chinwe Ugele. Good morning to you both. Glad to have you join me this morning.
Good morning.
Now, Chinwe, let me begin with you. Just give us an update regarding what's happening in Enugu State.
Well, it's wonderful, and people have already said about their businesses. And of course, today is church day, so people have already, those who went for early services and masses have already gone and some are still preparing to go. So everywhere is calm today. From yesterday, Rerun that took place in Enugu, some parts of Enugu State, and the one that was cancelled. People already moved on, you know how Nigerians are. So in this case, everything has returned to normalcy. There's no misunderstanding anywhere between anybody. But then journalists still await the declaration of the Jenny result. But I spoke with the rank a while ago, who told me that the results had already been declared. But he had also invited some reporters to come to his office later today for a press briefing. So we wait for whatever he has to, inform the media and the public.
All right, Chinwe, if you could just intimate us on the latest regarding the INEC official beating for having pre-filled election results sheets.
I think yesterday the rank himself told journalists that they had observed that the result sheets meant for Enugu South urban were mutilated. He told us that he found out that they were mutilated and they had to discard that one or keep it away and present the replacement papers. So it is a possibility that something like that might have happened in Udeni, which led to that. And the voters who came out yesterday to cast their votes were already angry, in Enugu South, that we are not able to vote. And they didn't understand the reason the resident electoral commissioner had to bring an alternative to the result sheet. But from what happened yesterday, from the viral video we saw yesterday of the electoral officer who was battered, it's obvious that the same thing might have replicated itself in that part of the state. So it's something that the commission will have to look into to also know the credibility of persons they engage, to do the work of INEC during election.
Okay, Chinwe, one last question for you. I mean, following suspension of election in Enugu State, what's the reaction of people in Enugu regarding suspension of polls there?
For the people, the government will have to, or INEC will have to give another date for the rerun to take place. But I do not know if that is going to happen anytime soon, because according to INEC law, electoral law, there cannot be a rerun there cannot be another rerun in a rerun. I do not know if it applies to this very case, because there wasn't even like an election, no vote was cast at all in this case. So if INEC would be doing that, remember that the announcement from the national office is that the election was being suspended indefinitely. So no one knows what will be the fate of that very constituency right now, because right now it's as if there's nobody occupying that. So the sooner something is done about it, the better for the constituents.
All right, Chinwe, let me quickly move to Chukwuma. I mean, Chukwuma, having, the information regarding elections suspended in Akwa Ibom, Kano, and also Enugu State, we all know that conducting by-elections and rerun elections, will incur additional cost. How do you think it's possible for us to minimize repeat elections in Nigeria?
It's all about the credibility of the electoral umpire. And that's talking about INEC. It's really sad that maybe giving months to prepare for something as minimal as by-elections involving just few constituencies. INEC also has shown lack of capacity, to coordinate and to conduct free, fair, and credible elections. A case study of what happened in Enugu. The first question would actually be, how did who fueled that particular result, right? And for what interest? And then I think also the DSS will have to come in, like security agencies, to further interrogate, to find out who actually authorized the young man to fill that particular result. Because it does appear that the result was filled and given to him. I think I can argue that it's possible the result was not filled just right there. Some results, the result perhaps was prepared ahead of time, given to him, and all he just expected to do was to consolidate the whole process by bringing it out after the elections.
I mean, we have a 2022 electoral, law in terms of elections. So far, looking at the conduct of elections in Nigeria, would you say the provisions of those laws has been fully implemented or not?
Not at all. I think what was thought to be the initial gains of the Electoral Act, as reviewed in 2022, has actually been fully exploited by the politicians in the negative. Now, I give an instance. Before now, with the advent of beavers, we kept hearing politicians were shaking, oh, beavers is a game changer and all the rest of it, because they could not see the possibility of, since like beavers has to do with like accredited voters, and they use that number. We never really saw that it's possible to like use violence, dispatch voters that came to be accredited after they must have accredited, and then now get the results to tally with whatever number of accredited.
Okay, seems we lost connection with Chukwuma. But Chinwe, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, just to find out, Chinwe, what's the presence of security operatives like in Enugu in view of these disruptions and also suspension of the poll?
Well, I can tell you everything has returned to, normal. I'm standing right in front of INEC office, and we don't even have that, number of security operatives you would think you'll see. But yesterday, they were all over the place, like in that vicinity where the elections were supposed to have taken place. We had the police, DSS, we had even an armored tanker, stationed there. So the security operatives, in fact, I commend them because yesterday they had enough reason to either shoot tear gas or do something to disperse people because the tension was so high. But they had the situation under control by, not because the commissioner of police was there too. So I think they really did enough yesterday as far as Enugu South urban was concerned. So, but today, everybody is going about the business. There's not as if anything happened. And I can tell you that the citizens are expecting that things will return to normal and that whoever, because you had people who wanted the other candidates to win and those who wanted the other person to win. So everybody is hoping that at the end of the day, their preferred choice will emerge. But then remember that the candidate of the Labour Party, who was already the person elected, is still leading the others with over 3,000 votes. And what was at stake for those 8 polling units were just 4,618 votes. So I wouldn't know how this whole thing will be resolved right now.
All right, Chinwe, let me take a moment to go back to Chukwuma. Chukwuma, if you can hear me, what are your thoughts on the use of beavers and IREV in conducting elections in Nigeria? Do you think it's been successful or otherwise?
It's meant to like help humans and not the other way around. What that means is that you can always take away the human factor. And the human factor in this particular case, we have to involve, we need credible electoral officers. We need credible security officers that we ensure that crowds do not come. Maybe when the beavers is done with accreditation and the touts, despite the fact that there is presence of security, is able to disperse voters, and then you have the wrong people coming to fill up the results. At the end of the day, you now say that the technology will end up validating crime, in the sense that it shows that this number of people actually came out, but at the end of the day, due to the human factor, they couldn't vote. And of course, those that was able to disrupt that election could point to the beavers to validate whatever violence they use in distorting the process. So wheels, yes, it's fine to come up with technology, but the aspect of actually having also credible Nigerians coming on board to ensure that monitoring of elections is free, fair, and credible, that's the only way we can actually glory in the gains of technology.
I mean, we've seen gross violations of electoral laws in the course and conduct of this election. How do you think we can begin to enforce law to make us have credible elections?
Honestly, like, we need a political will, because most of the time, the bottlenecks that the judiciary face, even though judiciary in Nigeria ought to be like independent, but in most cases, they are like political interferences, like almost telling the court at every point what to do. So we'll become a nation without consequences. And without consequences, there's no other way to like incentivize like criminality, and people commit crime and go scot-free. A case study of the general election in 2023, after the presidential election, people actually saw all of the loopholes, in the, how people can actually take advantage of those platforms. And we saw that the other three elections, off-cycle elections that were held, took us back to those years without even technology, right? Because people were now better informed that beavers was in no measure a game changer without the instrumentality of credible individuals, right? And ahead of the next elections, if we don't do anything to actually ensure that we curb violence, touts are brought to book, this is going to be the next move, right? That grab it, snatch it, and then to try to do anything and win an election by all means.
Chukwuma, talking about violence, what are your thoughts on the INEC official beating and malhandled in Enugu State? And do you have any update as to his release or being arrested, whatsoever? What update do you have regarding him?
I think before, I don't want to use the word that is deserving, because, nobody's expected to take the laws into the hands. But in line with the Electoral Act, they have requested, can we see the results sheet, right? It was really needless for him to state, to present, what they're asking him is not a secret document. This is meant to be inspected by all stakeholders involved in the election. And he felt that maybe, perhaps, whatever reason why he chose to stand, which was not sustainable enough, because in a case like this, assuming the security woman that was around was arguably compromised, maybe that would have given him courage. And of course, one woman is not enough to defend him against those men that were angry there. So it's only like maybe when security is also compromised, and as an INEC official, if there is order from above, you may want to like hold on, based on, the way we do things here. But beyond that, if you now know you are all alone, the security officer is there, it doesn't seem to collaborate with you in any way. And of course, it's just like mere foolishness. Insisting he was not going to show the result sheet. And of course, the guys gave him enough time, pleaded with him, told him the implications, and he resisted, and he got maybe, perhaps why the people chose to go that way would also be that we know that, judging from the previous election, there have not been consequences for such people that compromise the electoral integrity.
All right, thank you so much for your time on the news. Chukwuma Okenwa and, of course, Chinwe Ugele, our correspondent right there in Enugu State. Thank you both for your time on the news.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Staff to President Bola Tinubu, Femi Gbajabiamila, took time out of the election to address Nigerians. Femi Gbajabiamila assured Nigerians that the benefits of fuel subsidy removal would be reaped soon. He spoke after casting his vote at polling unit 014, Ward 08 at Elizabeth Fowler Memorial School in Surulere, Lagos State, in the House of Representatives by-election in the constituency on Saturday. According to him, the economic hardship faced by Nigerians was due to missing fundamentals missed by the past administration.
Since the appointment,
clearly, Nigerians are going through economic hardship. Same thing is going on in other parts of the world. Nigeria is not isolated. It's even in the most advanced democracy, these things are happening. The shocks that are being received left, right, center, from the east, from the west, from the south, things that are universal. But we're concerned with Nigeria. Let's forget about the other countries. We're concerned with Nigerians, and I want to encourage people. It's been, around about 6-7 months of this government. The gestation period is about now. So moving forward, I believe that things will begin to take a turn. Like has always been said, it's for it to get better. Some people will say it has to get bad. Because of the fundamentals that we're missing in the first place. It is those fundamentals, those economic fundamentals that this government is putting into place. You talk about subsidy removal. Everybody, there was a national concession. Everybody agreed that the subsidy had to go. Unification of the Naira. Everybody agreed that that had to be done. So those are the fundamentals that we're now putting in place. And the benefits will be reaped.
A coalition of civil society organizations in Nigeria have expressed worry over the nation's rising public debt profile, saying it will soon become unsustainable to service expected loans. They are urging the government to devise new innovative ways to increase internal revenue to reduce borrowing. Our correspondent Idong Joseph reports.
While Nigeria continues to face critical economic challenges, a substantial amount of its revenue is dedicated towards debt servicing. Experts say this puts the nation in a critical situation where government is unable to fund critical sectors of the economy. According to Nigeria's Debt Management Office, the total public debt is currently about 87.9 trillion naira as at the end of the third quarter of 2023, and now only 8.3 trillion naira is being allocated in the 2024 budget to service these debts. Experts say the nation's increasing debt has now become unsustainable and calls for the reassessment of government spending in line with revenue generation strategy.
The country will spend 6 times more on servicing debt than on building new schools and hospitals in 2024. So you can imagine, whatever the revenue we are making, it's not even enough to pay the debt servicing, not even to pay the loan that you have collected. And yet every day you wake up, you go and collect so many loans that you cannot actually see the value of those loans.
The challenge with borrowing from the international capital market is the fact that you cannot negotiate any form of relief, any tax on your loan, you just have to pay. And if we continue to do this, we will continue to find ourselves in a fix where we will not be able to do anything as a nation.
They say persistent government borrowing and loss of a significant portion of its revenue through tax waivers have compounded the current challenges. They are advocating for measures to be taken by the different arms of government to mitigate the situation.
The Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning and related agencies must enhance revenue generation by expanding the tax net, improving tax compliance, and revising tax incentives.
Annual budgets should be accompanied by tax expenditure statements that detail the above analysis.
We also want regular audits of public debt management operations in line with World Bank recommendations. This should be conducted every 3 years to ensure compliance and transparency.
Loan approvals should undergo rigorous legislative scrutiny. With public involvement, we've seen on several occasions, citizens are not even involved in most of these conversations. It feels like we are disconnected, but we are pushing for inclusion in all of these cases where decisions are being made, that our voices will be heard largely.
The current economic situation in the country is believed to be characterized by a decrease in government revenue and an increase in public debt. Experts say immediate attention, including a strategic intervention, will set Nigeria on the path to development. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Let's also tell you that following calls by the Belgian government dissuading citizens from migrating into Belgium over false promises of job and better living conditions, Nigerians have called on its government to improve on the living standards in the country. Representatives of the Belgian Ministry of Interior spoke to newsmen in the nation's capital, Abuja, saying many Nigerian girls in Belgium are forced into prostitution upon arrival, a situation that benefits only traffickers and not the victims. Amadine Uyi reports.
According to the Africa Center for Strategic Studies, 43 million Africans are documented to be living in foreign countries. Why not all migrated illegally? A record number left the shores of the continent through irregular means, seeking for unavailable jobs and a means to survive. The Belgian government recently raised an alarm over the high rate of Nigerian girls being trafficked into Belgium for jobs, with many of them now forced into prostitution.
A lot of people, especially girls, exclusively girls, are forced into prostitution. In the big Belgium cities, Antwerp, Brussels, we still have quarters where the prostitution is not dominated, but it is exclusively Nigerian. The only thing what we can differ there is the color of the underwear. Sometimes it's white, sometimes it's red, but they are all girls from Nigeria, often from the region, Edo State, the region of Benin City.
With about 1.37 million African nationals recorded to have attempted to cross into Europe in the last 15 years, many of these migrants seek asylum in their countries of destination. The Belgian government is calling on Africans, notably Nigerians, attempting to seek asylum in Belgium, saying there are no spaces available for asylum seekers, as living conditions are harsh and unforgiving.
There are hundreds of asylum seekers living in Brussels on the street. And I can assure you the temperature in Brussels is not what it is here in Abuja. 2 weeks ago it was -7, -5. Now it's around 0 Celsius. So it's really not easy to survive in Brussels without help, without an assistance.
Nigerians react saying irregular migration is caused by a failure of governance, urging the government to sit up and live up to the expectations of citizens.
What do you expect in a country as rich as Nigeria, and yet our children are going to Togo to go and do odd jobs? Because our leaders have failed us. They failed to plan. Any man that failed to plan will plan to fail. Any country that failed to plan to fail.
Nigeria people, they are hardworking people. So you see, some of these things that is causing going to foreign and do all sort of business that is not even there, searching for business that is not even there. No, Nigeria government can create a enabling environment for the youth to do their legitimate work.
Because of unemployment and also our economy, that is the reason why, in my own understanding, this is the reason why our Nigeria youth want to go to the other country to go and make money, like feed their family, to live fine.
With an estimated 35% of people in sub-Saharan Africa living in poverty, data suggests that if nothing is done to improve their living conditions, African cross-border migration might reach between 11 to 12 million people by 2050. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
And to talk about this, I've been joined live in the studio by Executive Director, Hope for the Masses Foundation, author of The Alchemy of Her, Tomisin Adebola. Good afternoon, good morning rather from here. It's a pleasure to have you join me.
Good morning and good to have you. Good to be here rather.
All right, let's start with your thoughts on Nigeria being the highest when it comes to forced prostitution in Belgium.
Well, thank you for having me once again. I think let's begin with the fact that Nigeria has over 210 million people, and that also means that we have quite a number of them across the geopolitical zones in the country. Now, for certain areas of the country, from time immemorial, it has always been the tradition to find a way to relocate abroad, to find a way to make a living, to better the lives of their family, to be able to bring money in, and to be able to basically show off and say, yes, I have arrived. While I was growing up, it was very common at that time. People want to go to Dublin. As a matter of fact, if any lady tells you, while I was in secondary school and you are having a conversation with my mother and you say to her that, where is your sister? Mommy, she has traveled. Where did she go to? Dublin. There is a, there is that natural, conclusion that that person has gone for prostitution. So it has been something when they say they're going to Dublin, they're going to Ireland, they're going to certain countries in Europe. At that point in time, it was always prostitution. Now that was enforced. But right now, people are now taking extra advantage of young people. Oh, do you want to be better? Do you want to? I mean, a young lady over the last couple of days posted on social media, sent to another celebrity actually, and said to her that she was considering, she's in Ivory Coast, and she was considering selling a kidney so that she could at least have a better life and maybe return home. And people were saying, why not just come back to Nigeria? I mean, you're a maid there, or you're doing forced prostitution there. We have people doing prostitution in Nigeria. It's not a legal business. It's not a legal profession. It's not even a legal means of livelihood. But people were doing it right here in Nigeria, and they're not living as bad. So why would you want to sell your kidney? That's the desperation. That's how really bad things have gotten to. People are now intentionally, there is the kidnap for organ transplants. There is the pretentious journey that people just come here and tell them, oh, don't worry, I have a job for you. And the boys their organs are being removed by forcefully. Their organs are sold by their masters or those who took them out of the country under the guise.
Just very quickly,
wanting to help them.
Yes, apologies to cut in there. I mean, when it comes to seeking greener pastures abroad, I mean, what are the red flags or even green flags to watch out for?
Let's begin with the fact that why do you want to seek greener pastures abroad? I mean, I just listened to the representative of the Belgium government telling us categorically that we do not have space for asylum seekers abroad in our country. That's one country. If you go to Netherlands is not very welcoming for blacks. It's not very welcoming. Why would you want to go seek greener pastures in the first place? Because the system has failed. Because we're looking at a system where we are youths no longer see viability in staying here. But is the pasture really greener on the other side? Is it really greener? I mean, we just had the issue with Togo, and a typical example played out when we were having conversations with students, Nigerian students, and even foreign students who were in Togo under the guise of going for education. They went there with good intentions. They don't want us to strike, to delay them and all that. The truth is, the grass is not greener. Ghanaians want to be like us because they see the land of Nigeria, as bad as we think our country is, they actually see us as a very privileged, overprivileged Africans who have everything at their beck and call. They think we have privilege and we are spoiled people. That's the way they look at us. Ghanaians want to be like us. Liberians want to be like us. Everybody wants to be like a Nigerian. Americans are saying now they want to marry Nigerians because they feel that our men are the best out there. So where exactly do you think the grass is green?
This leads me to my next question for you, which is, what can the Nigerian government do in ensuring that citizens, we reduce the number of citizens traveling abroad for greener pastures or even seeking asylum elsewhere?
That's a very pregnant question. The Nigerian government has told us over and over again, dispensation after dispensation, that they are doing everything to make the environment more viable, more conducive. But I think more can be done, seriously. I say the Minister of Digital Economy right now trying to train more people in digital trends and computer skills and all of that. But way beyond all of that, when you have the skill, who absorbs you into the system? Where would you get the job? Where are the jobs. We need to get to a point where the Nigerian government sets a standard for private organizations. If you're going to employ somebody as a private company, there must be rules. There must be rules protecting not just the employer, but the employee. The environment itself must be conducive enough for people to want to stay. Some people are traveling simply because they cannot afford to have children in Nigeria, simply because our hospitals are sometimes in a shamble, or the behavior of the medical personnel there is not, is unbecoming enough for people to want to stay. So there are so many things the government can do. But the first thing really that I think we should tackle is this issue of indoctrinating the Nigerian to become a proper Nigerian. Stop eating things that do not add value to your system, all in the name of this superior complex of wanting to be Europeanized or Americanized and all that. You're a Nigerian, you're an African, you're blessed already. Look at the environment where you are. Let the Nigerian government show us the opportunities that are inherent in our society, and let them create a conducive atmosphere for everybody to be able to thrive right here. 210 million people cannot enter any country abroad. Soon, they'll tell us we can't come.
Well, that's a fine place to wrap it up. Thank you so much for your insight and, of course, your kind company on the news. Tomisin Adebola.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And now moving on to another story. A minister in the Senegal government said he was resigning his post hours after President Macky Sall announced the indefinite postponement of the February 25 presidential election. Abdulateef Coulibaly said in a statement he was quitting because he wanted to have full and complete freedom to defend his political convictions. In the same vein, the head of an opposition party, Thieno Alassane Sall, said the president's move amounted to high treason against the republic. After announcing he would not run for a third term as president, Sall designated Prime Minister Amadou Ba from his party as his would-be successor. In Southern Africa, Namibia's president, Hage Geingob, has died. The 82-year-old president died in a hospital early on Sunday, weeks after he was diagnosed with cancer. Geingob had been in charge of the mostly arid Southern African country since 2015, the year he announced he had survived prostate cancer. Vice President Nangolo Umbumba takes the helm in Namibia, a mining hotspot with significant deposit of diamonds and the electric car battery ingredient, lithium, until presidential and parliamentary elections at the end of the year. Born in 1941, Geingob was a prominent politician since before Namibia achieved independence from white minority-ruled South Africa in 1990. South African politicians were trying to mobilize their supporters on Saturday, the last chance for citizens to register to vote before an imminent announcement of general elections. Now, 30 years after democracy replaced apartheid rule, this year's elections will be seen by many as a referendum on the performance of the ruling African National Congress, ANC. Polls suggest the party may lose its overall majority as memories of the anti-apartheid struggle fade and voters focus on more recent scandals and economic underperformance. Turnout at voter registration centers in Johannesburg was very low on Saturday, but the mood in the ANC camp was more buoyant as President Cyril Ramaphosa met supporters in Soweto.
It is important for them to come and register so that they can have a say in the things of the country that is happening. If you don't vote, you don't have power. So the vote gives you power to be able to challenge anything that is happening that you see as a citizen of South Africa.
So we are here to make sure that no one does bogus or no one does anything that is out of the policy of the IEC. Actually, we are here to defend the revolution.
And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Results of Rerun by-elections held in some Nigerian states have started to trickle in. Abducted Ekiti school children has regained freedom. Namibia's president, Geingob, has died at the age of 82. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times Channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adedugba.